Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Secure the Bag preview. Here I am on my own, a little out of practice. It's been a while. There's been a lot going on, moving into a new unit, new modem. But here we are. We're back on track, and me and the lads are going to be putting out some new videos over the next few weeks. So look forward to that. But right now, let us focus on this big fixture, the first game of this game week coming up: West Ham versus Newcastle. As a West Ham fan, for me, while I don't consider this a must-win game, considering how inconsistent the teams are around us, if we could win this game and go on to use this game as momentum in our next few games, it would put us in a really strong position to get top four. This fixture is just as important to Newcastle. For Newcastle, they want to keep up their good form rather than slip back in. If they can win this game, it would be their sixth game in a row without a loss. That run includes 3 wins against Leeds, Everton, and Aston Villa, and 2 draws against Man United and Watford. Our form has been much more scratchy. We have lost games against Southampton, against Leeds, 1 against Watford, but our most recent result was a draw against Leicester. Never mind all the controversy and bad vibes around the club at the moment. I think fans have really overblown how poorly our season has gone. I think bad form brings out the worst in the West Ham fan base, not to mention some scandals regarding, especially Kurt Zouma in particular, but we will be doing a deep dive video into that scandal and others that have been going on in a later vid. For now, the focus is on these 2 teams and the chance that either is going to pull off a win here or whether we're going to see a draw. Let's start with West Ham. West Ham have 2 major injuries right now. We have Masuaku and Ogbonna. Ogbonna has been out for the whole season since about October, and Masuaku has just recently gotten an injury that has taken him out for the whole season as well. In contrast, Kurt Zouma couldn't play against Leicester, but he should be back for this game. Whether he should be playing, I know, is a big issue for debate, but I think right now, I'm not going to give too much of my opinions on that. That will come in a later video. For now, I'm going to assume that he will start. Otherwise, we have no major injuries. We have the squad to pick from. But even with that, the squad is quite thin. The chance that another injury is going to pop up is quite serious. And we have major concerns about whether there is the energy in this squad right now. They look very depleted. They don't have the energy to play the kind of football we were earlier on. And we would love to see that change in this game. We're actually the favourites to win this game, but not the favourites to have a strong defence. So the odds are 5-2 for West Ham to win, but both teams to score. That seems reasonable. Cresswell was quite average in our last game against Leicester. And there's been questions of Soufal. He hasn't been playing the kind of football he was last season. And even then, while Zouma might be back, replacing Diop, who did okay against Leicester, Dawson has been a mixed package this season ever since we got him on a permanent deal. So whether we'll see that back line perform is highly questionable. It is the back line that played against Watford and in which we won the game 1-0. But that was a very even game. It could have gone either way. And I don't think defensively we were necessarily that good. It was more Watford could not actually convert any chances they had into goals. That leaves us as well with the game against Leicester, where it was pretty much the same lineup, but with Zouma out for Diop. And Diop did pretty well coming into that, but he will now need to move aside. He's way too inconsistent to play in a game of this importance. So my idea of the lineup is probably going to be that back 4 with Fabianski playing. So we're going to have Dawson, Zouma, Soufal and Cresswell. However, I wish it wasn't that way. I would really like to see Ben Johnson come in and replace either of those because he could play on either side, because I really rated him when he was breaking in earlier in the season, when he had to, when we had a lot of injuries at those positions and when Masuaku could not be trusted to play, Ben Johnson was the man. Then he got an injury and he drifted back onto the subs bench, but I'd love to see him play. If I had to choose who I would replace him with, I'd replace him instead of Soufal. I want Soufal to have a break, same as I actually want Souček. That being said, let's get into the midfield. So our midfield usually still is the Souček-Rice pairing. Rice is incredible. He will be incredible every single game, and it's very hard to downrate him. He does incredibly well, both in attack and defense. His game is very versatile. Souček looks tired. We've been saying this for months. He needs to come off. He needs a rest. I believe it's time to give Krall a chance. If Moyes has seen something in Krall that doesn't make him trust him, he doesn't want to play him, then fine. But something needs to be done about the Souček situation, whether that is Noble, Krall, or even Lanzini in a deeper role. Something has to be done. The three in front of that duo would be, I think the idea that I've heard a lot of people saying is that Benrahma doesn't look the same. Since he's gotten back from AFCON, Algeria had a pretty embarrassing performance, and we haven't seen Benrahma really replicate his form. Even before the competition, he was sort of sliding off. So I think this is an opportunity to bring Lanzini back in, who has been playing as well as he ever has in a West Ham shirt. So I think Fornals, Bowen, and Lanzini should be the trio behind Antonio. Our only striker, because we couldn't bother to get a signing and we left it too late. I cannot talk about the transfer window without getting enraged. I heard about record transfer bids in the last 48 hours, but what at that point you've left it too late, and this summer is going to be all the more important to keeping up the momentum. But I think we've lost an opportunity this season. Still, I think with that lineup, a win against Newcastle puts us in a good situation, not necessarily for top 4, but definitely for a top 7 finish. We want European football again. If we can get Europa League football again, we haven't progressed, but we haven't slid back. We would just be where we were, and I would take that any day. So that being said, I think that this team, there's a lot of problems with this team. As I've said, lacking in energy. There needs to be a rotation of certain players back into the squad to give players rest. But with the lack of signings in January, there's only so much we can do on that front. So I'm going to assume that Moyes is going to stick to what he's got rather than making these radical changes. But I'm not going to criticize him for it yet. I will wait till the end of the season to see whether it pays off. So for Newcastle, their injury situation is a little more complicated. So they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Trippier recently, who was injured in their last game against Aston Villa, is a major loss for them as one of their new signings. They paid about $12.5 million for him. But even then, there's a whole lot of other players, some of which were playing before, that they've also lost as well. I'm talking about Isaac Hayden, Matt Ritchie, Callum Wilson, Manquillo. There's a couple of players around that squad who are injured. So we're going to see how Newcastle change, especially since players like Trippier and Manquillo were playing in their last game against Aston Villa. So the rumor that I heard is that Eddie Howe is going to switch to a back 3 potentially with Shah, Lascelles, and Byrne in a back 3. That's going to be rough for West Ham because West Ham's attack doesn't look as fluid, as decisive as it once was. I could absolutely see this game being a 0-0 rather than the bookies' idea of both teams scoring, because I look at West Ham's attack and I think against a back 3, they're going to struggle with their current energy levels. But I also don't trust that Newcastle front. So I've heard that Bruno isn't going to play in the midfield, so they still haven't given an starting appearance to Bruno Guimaraes. And what we think that's going to be then is it's going to stick to his trusted trio, Joe Linton, Shelby, and Joe Willock, who have been playing really well in Newcastle's run without defeats. They've been pretty well. So it's probably a good sign that he's sticking to the trusted, and I think it gives them more time to figure out how to bring Bruno into this side. But that means if they're playing with as this 3-5-2 with Target, and I'm going to have to say, I think they're going to have Fraser in. No, Target and Fraser might have to be the way to go as part of a 3-5-2. But I don't really know how Fraser performs in that role. I think, though, the front two is more clear to me, and most Newcastle fans would be able to point it out. It's going to be Wood and St. Maximin. With Wilson out, it's going to be Wood and St. Maximin. I don't rate the Wood signing. It was overpriced, but Newcastle were probably willing to accept that, and it's not going to hurt them in the long run. St. Maximin is also a player that I just don't like this pairing. I find that St. Maximin's a player who struggles to make something of chances on his own. Great dribbler, but no eye for a great pass, no eye for goal. He more often than not doesn't do well in those areas and usually requires someone else to be around him to take advantage when it doesn't turn out right for him. I don't know if Wood's that kind of player. Wood is a target man, but to keep up with St. Maximin, he's going to have to be quicker than he is if he's going to sort of float around St. Maximin. But they're not going to be any like balls are like crosses coming in. I assume how I imagine the scenario. St. Maximin's going to pull a run through the middle, through the center of the pitch. He's going to either shoot and deflect, or he's going to screw up the pass, and Wood has to be there to capitalize. Whether Wood is that kind of player, we'll have to find out. We are going to be concerned. There's no doubt, out of all their injuries, Trippier is the biggest loss. It was a goal by Trippier that secured them the 3 points last game out. And it might be that in the dressing room, he is a leader. I think that out of all the players they signed, he's not necessarily the most talented, but he's the one who brings an attitude, a winning attitude to the team that they're really going to need in this relegation struggle. Results so far have been really good, but I question whether it can continue realistically. And the fact is, they're only a couple points off the relegation zone. And with Watford back in contention, I really think they're going to get back into this under their new manager. I really think with Roy Hodgson, they're going to turn this around. I think that Watford will rack up a few more points. They will probably still get relegated, but I think there's competition there. Dean Smith is all right with Norwich, but I still think they'll go down. I think there are 3 worse teams in the Premier than Newcastle, but they really want to put the points on the board now while there's a good atmosphere at the club and no other injuries rack them. I think this is a great match for them to step in and get this done. So how do I think this game is actually going to go? Well, my prediction is probably going to be, I am going to say it's actually going to be a really drab game. I can see a 0-0 on the horizon with no goals, because if Newcastle play a back 3, I don't think West Ham are going to break through it. And I don't trust that Newcastle front. And without a player like Trippier to make the difference like it did against Aston Villa, I can really see this becoming a 0-0 game. So it's hard to describe a goal-scoring opportunity if there's not going to be any goals in this game. So with that said, I think that's going to be the outcome of this game. Let me know whether I got it right or not. And come on, you Irons. I might be a little biased in this, but let's get the 3 points on the board. All right, everyone. See ya.